This is kind of a tough movie to review, but I'm up for the challenge. Let's do this. The Cabin in the Woods came out in 2012, was directed by Drew Goddard, who most recently wrote The Martian, and this movie was co-written by him and Joss Whedon. The basic idea is that a couple of college kids go to a cabin in the woods, they start having fun, weird things start happening, and they get killed off one after the other. Plot-wise, it's a typical slasher movie, but there's a lot more to it, and it's awesome. And it's a movie that's definitely worth seeing in your lifetime. That's why I'm giving this rating right now, just to give you my full opinion, because this movie has a reputation for having big secrets that they do not say at all. So I'm going to say spoiler alert. The rest of the review is going to be a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen Cabin in the Woods, watch the movie and then come back here. I reviewed this movie back when it first came out on Blu-ray 3 years ago, and even though I said spoiler alert in that review, I think, I got blasted for saying, man, why'd you spoil the movie? It's still relatively new. And I said, hey, I told you spoiler alert, so I don't want comments here saying you spoiled the movie when I specifically say spoiler alert. You see the flashing red logo? That means spoiler alert. Don't give me any of that crap. Anyway, with that out of the way, here we go. The opening of the movie starts in some sort of facility with Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins as two scientists who are conducting an experiment for some reason I'll get to later. And basically the cabin in the woods that these college kids go to is like a base for that experiment. They have these creatures in line to kill these kids. They have things to manipulate the kids and what they're thinking. And basically what they are like the directors of a slasher movie. They control every little thing that's going on in that cabin. They have zombies, some booby traps, so it's really kind of fascinating. It makes you really think about all the other slasher movies that come out beforehand, like Friday the 13th or Halloween. And now, like, if, say, you watch those movies, it's like, why does Jason Voorhees kill so many people? Well, because he's a puppet of this company. Why are there zombies in Night of the Living Dead? Why are the birds attacking the birds? Because it's this company. They're all doing stuff like that. Any slasher movie that doesn't have an explanation, you could simply put this movie in front of it and go, yeah, that's the explanation why these slashers are mindlessly doing things. It's a cool idea that makes this movie a little smarter than something like Scream, which I recently saw Scream a couple nights ago, and I really liked it. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But what Scream did was simply go, hey, look, there's a horror slasher cliche. But what this movie does is, okay, here's a horror cliche that you see in slasher movies. Now we're going to take it and make you think of it in a different way. And it really does lead to one of the best horror comedies in some time. Because this is a comedy also. Written by Joss Whedon. You got a lot of great snappy dialogue. And all the characters are likable. And even, like, the weirdest thing about the college kids is that they're all the stereotypes, or at least they become the stereotypes, but they're all good friends with each other. Like, you see the jock and the nerd hanging out with each other. The virgin and the, basically, slut are best friends, and the slut's not really a slut until the company works their magic. The actors do a good job. For a slasher movie, even though it is kind of a comedy, the acting is really much better than some shit like Friday the 13th. I mentioned that you have Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins, who are two really good actors. And then you also have Amy Acker, who's a Joss Whedon regular. And as for the college students, you have Kristen Connolly as the virgin. You have Anna Hutchinson as the whore. You have Jesse Williams as the scholar. You have Fran Kranz as the fool. And then for the athlete, you have Chris Hemsworth. Another interesting note is that this movie was filmed in 2008, but it was released in 2012, a month before the Avengers came out. So when you look at Chris Hemsworth here and compare it to how he was in Thor and the Avengers, you're like, well, he has gotten skinny in between Thor and the Avengers. And the reason is because they filmed this before anyone even knew he was going to be Thor. So it's really kind of strange. But not to get off topic when movies were filmed or released. For a long time, it does feel like a slasher movie, but when we get to the beginning of the third act, it's a giant free-for-all with all these monsters, killers in this lab that go loose, and it's really gory and lots of fun, I gotta say. But the only thing I don't like about Cabin in the Woods is the explanation on why the company is doing what they're doing. And the reason is because they have to sacrifice those stereotypes that I mentioned when listing off the college students, the virgin, the whore, the scholar, the athlete, and the fool. They have to sacrifice them to some god, like, I think every year. It's a little convoluted, and when you see the reason, it's just kind of like, oh, well, that's stupid. I guess they had to come up with some reason why the company is just killing off these kids. But, I don't know. It's a little weird and strange, but it doesn't distract from the rest of the movie, I think. One of my favorite parts is once the company starts working their magic, they all start taking bets on, like, what's going to happen. Like, oh, this is the part where the whore takes her top off. Oh, this is the part where she's going to get killed first. And it's really funny to see basically the directors of this program turn into horror fans whenever they watch these movies. Because when you're watching a slasher movie, you can instantly go, yeah, this is the part where that happens. This is where that happened. So in the end, despite a very confusing reason for why the movie happens, Cabin in the Woods, I think, is a lot of fun. I don't really love it as much as I do something like Night of the Living Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, or the movie I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but I still think it's a really fun, entertaining movie that is worth seeing in your lifetime. So definitely check it out if you haven't. And that's my review for The Cabin in the Woods. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. Don't forget to check out my official website, therealmrrobinson.com. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Periscope. And this is The Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.